Welcome back, everyone. This clip is on reverse inking. Reverse inking is a technique where you ink in white. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the opacity of our shading ink layer, our dark ink layers that we built in. This is part of the reason why we worked in multiple layers. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a layer called reverse inking and put it on top of the shading layer. And I'm going to still keep the shading layer pretty opaque. This way I can see the hard, essential black lines that were inked below the reverse inking layer. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start taking spots, areas that I feel could use a slight highlight, a slight touch up, a little bit of cleaning up, or something that I feel could use a spot of definition, clarification, anything that will ultimately help accentuate the illustration. Now, I am pretty much going to jump around and do this because it's going to be areas that hit me automatically. This is going to be very instinctive. I know what my end result is. My end result is to give the viewer something else to sink their teeth into. So rather than leaving an entire black shadow on the chest area, I feel that for this shot and for this pose, pulling out some of the highlights and cleaning up some of the lines will help give the viewer a little extra something, something for them to appreciate in the illustration. Reverse inking is handled with the same care as your standard black ink inking. I am conscious of line weight, I'm conscious of shape, I'm a little overconscious, to be honest, of why I feel it necessary to pull out certain highlights when and where I do. This is more of an afterthought that really pulls the illustration together. So there's a lot more of an instinctive feel on this part of the inking rather than a follow the blueprint feel. I'm still going along the lines of the drawing and the inking, but I'm also pulling out highlights and certain hotspots for the illustration where when the pencils were created, it wasn't completely a total thought at the time. So this is the cherry on top of the ice cream for the illustration. I'm sitting here thinking about where else can I add just that little extra something to help clarify an area, to help bring interest to the piece. And you'll notice that I've probably used the undo tool more on this one little segment than I have on at least 50 or 60% of the other clips. And the reason is pretty simple. This is all, for me, visual eye candy and instinctive. Every single line I'm throwing down right now is pure instinct, and it is there to add the additional bits of flash to the illustration. I'm still keeping in mind the basic shapes. I'm making sure that a lot of the areas that I'm hitting and touching up aren't detracted by what I'm doing as well. They have to feel natural. Everything has to feel like it belongs. So I'm not just sitting here looking at it and saying, oh, wouldn't it be fun to put X, Y, and Z in this one spot? There's instinct and there's methodology to this. It's all about making sure that we enhance the illustration. It's all about making sure that the lines that we pick are proper lines. This is a lot of sitting back, reflecting on the illustration, thinking about what lines are missing that we did choose, that were speaking to us, that we feel we need to bring back now because we obscured them with heavy black ink. So, a lot of what I'm doing right now is just absorbing and taking in the illustration. A lot of the times when I create a piece for a client, if time permits, once I knock out and achieve a certain part of the project, be it the layout, the sketch, the finished pencils, the inks, the basic colors for the painting of it, I like to do each section one at a time and then walk away from the table. I want to just let the piece sit there, walk away, and come back to it with fresh eyes. And the process of reverse inking, if you have the time to pull it off, coming back to the illustration with fresh eyes is absolutely the way to do it. It gives you a really nice ability to just look at the piece, say to yourself, okay, what is working here and what is not working? What's missing? What did I blow away from the illustration while I was working on it that I really feel needs to come back? So, for right now, a lot of it is major muscle group areas that I feel need to be defined slightly clearer, like the chest, the clavicle, which would be structural, little indications for the delt, pulling out a little indication here and there on other muscle groups, a little touch on the bicep, all sorts of little things that will help sell the piece, if you will. When you're creating your illustration, when you're creating your art, you are creating it for yourself. But you know you want people to look at it and appreciate it. It's all these little steps that you do at the end that help the viewer appreciate it. And I'm not talking about overworking your illustration. I'm talking about actually taking your illustration to a true completion and making sure that it looks and feels right. Coming up in our next clip, we are going to be focusing on putting in some additional touches and tying it together with speed lines. It's not going to be our final clip, but it's pretty close. I look forward to seeing you guys there.